So, welcome to another Startup Central Victoria meetup. And our special guest today is in Lancefield in the beautiful Macedon Ranges. Welcome, Julian Widera. Is this how I pronounce it? Because I believe that you actually come from another country originally, Julian. Tell us more.
Well, hello everyone. Well, that's very correct. You were very close. It's an old Prussian name from Silesia. It's pronounced in German Widera, Julian Widera.
And I
But
do I do believe your accent got a little bit stronger as you said that. Yeah. And of course, you are representing the business, The Lost Watering Hole. Well, there's a whole story in the name for a start, but perhaps let's start. For those that haven't yet stumbled on The Lost Watering Hole in Lancefield in the beautiful Macedon Ranges, describe to us what the business looks like. What would you find if we dropped in today and visited your business?
yeah, sure. So we are a small bistro brewery with good food and good drinks, nestled in the scenic Macedon Ranges, and we are inspired by the area's natural beauty and historical legacy. So when you come to Lancefield, you will see right on the main street a beautiful new building which we built on a grass field. And if you walk into our building, you will see a really beautiful spacey area with a nice fireplace in the middle and a big bar. Yeah,
It's pretty impressive, I have to say. I was just amazed that little old Lancefield, which is a beautiful country town, has this purpose-built brewery and restaurant. What's the capacity of the restaurant, Julian?
100-seater.
And it was very busy the day I visited, so it is obviously a popular destination. But you have a specific role with the Lost Watering Hole. Tell us a bit about your role.
Yeah, I manage the production, so I'm one of the 10 shareholders as well. So I might have to tell you the whole story how we started. So originally, I have to go way, way back. Originally, when I came to Australia, I set up a new business to an existing business with my now business partner, John Maloney, in beautiful Port Campbell on the Great Ocean Road. There we set up a small brewery called the Sound Piglets to an award-winning accommodation. And it went so well that after 6 months, we had to set up a bigger brewery. And so we purchased already the equipment, set it up on the farm temporarily while we worked on a DA for a beautiful brewery with restaurant in Port Campbell. And then unfortunately, we've been taken to VCAT and we had a hearing which would have taken 1.5 years and we would have to pay a lot of money for experts to defend ourselves. So, but luckily by that stage, because we set up our second brewery, we have been approached by a few other people who wanted to set up a brewery and they asked us for their help. So John Maloney and myself, we set up a consultancy brewery, the Brewery Mentors, where we then started to help other people to set up their business. So we set one up in New South Wales, Yamba, Brisbane, Toowoomba, Gold Coast, Mafra, and then we got to know that one of the founding members and Peter Chiller, he wanted to set up, he already lived in Lansford and he wanted to set up a brewery because he identified a very good site, a green site. And so we met up with Peter Chiller. And by this stage, we had the second brewery, which we wanted to sell anyway. And so after a few meetings, we teamed up with Peter Chiller. And the idea was slowly formed that we would find 10 partners, local investors, who would bring something to the business and create something great for the local community.
So, time frame, we're talking about how long ago was this partnership formed?
Um, that I think it took us around 3 years from the first idea, first meetings, to actually opening. So now we are nearly 2 years old. So I dare to say 5 years ago.
It takes a lot of planning to get a business
It,
going, and sometimes you hit a dead end, as you experienced with your last one. So, well done. So, you're one of the 10 partners. Where did the other nine partners come from? How were they recruited, and what did they bring to the table?
well, we looked at obviously what a business needs, and Luckily, Messina Rangers has a lot of amazing people around, and Peter Chiller and our other directors or shareholders are very well connected. So we found Ken Cato lived in the area, who has a multinational branding company, and he set the vision for our brand and set up the whole stage. So I should probably also explain a little bit about the Lost Watering Hole, why it's called Lost Watering Hole. Um, we in Australia had once a huge megafauna of kangaroos, 3 meter high, wombats, multiple hundred of kilograms heavy. And so Lancefield was an old swamp 40,000 years ago. And surprise, surprise, Australia back then had already droughts. And so all those huge animals would come up to the swamps in Lancefield, and then the swamps dried up, and all those huge animals would die in this area. And so you can still find around 10,000 old mega fossils up there. And so that's what we play on. So every beer is resembling one extinct animal which lived once around Lancefield. Or we also put a few fantasy animals in there.
It
So
sounds like a great story after you've had a few beverages, even more believable. But I mean, it's a great play, and how wonderful to tap into all that expertise within the region. So well done. That's excellent. Um, so you thought it was a good idea? Did you do any testing to make sure you were on the right path before you actually put up that building and opened the doors?
yeah, well, luckily because of our expertise, we knew the market already fairly well. So we did a few recipes and invited a few community members and gave them a taste of the product and listened to their feedback and adjusted accordingly. And obviously, our vision was to set up this big drinking hole, the Lost Watering Hole. It came a little bit different. We never anticipated that food would be such a big thing in our venue. So, but we again listened carefully to the community and our customers, and adjusted accordingly.
And it is certainly the restaurant is very, very busy, as I said. So, staff, Lancefield is a very small country town. So, to run the restaurant and food and serving those beverages, you have wholesale and retail, I take it, apart with the thing. Where have you recruited your staff from?
Well, I'm looking after the production side for the brewery, which is hard to come by because brewers in Australia are not really trained. There are not many courses you can do, whereas the Germans, they take brewing very serious. So I studied it for multiple years. And so I'm looking after that side and train staff in the brewery. And then we were fortunate enough to find a very good chef, Dave, who just has family in Woodend and wanted to relocate. And he's managing our kitchen with great success. And then we recruited a very good manager, Nick Barling, who is looking after the front of house stuff. And luckily, we have a lot of young, talented kids in the area who sell the beer very well behind the bar.
Excellent. So, you've been open 2 years. I've got a partnership who have obviously put a lot of time, expertise, and dollars into this investment. What was your plan, or what was your original plan to get a return on your investment, and how is that going?
It's well, it's one of our achievements, I would say, that we've been profitable from day one. So we've seen a return. But obviously, we are careful. I believe you should never take everything out of the business. So we always put something back. But yeah, it's going very well on this side. We didn't anticipate it because obviously a lot of breweries setting up, they need a couple of years to become profitable. But that's also our size with a brewery and our expertise. We knew what size market we have to hit. So a lot of breweries, for example, go very big in wholesale, and that's very hard to get a return on investment because you're competing against 600 other breweries. Whereas the community hub, which we created, that's our hub. We own that hub, we own our taps, and that's where we make the most money.
Ah, excellent, excellent. So That's probably one thing that's gone really well. What other things that you think you've done exceptionally well that you really nailed it in your planning?
Well, I think the positive reception from the locals, I think that's something we can be proud of. That's not always given. Then we have very good feedback from the community, and it becomes a bit of a community hub. Locals come there for a drink, but it also very good. We established the Lost Watering Hole as a destination. So we see often locals come in with friends, they're visiting the area and they want to show them what Lancefield has to offer. So I think that's something we're very proud of. Another achievement we reached was in the first year, we put our beers into the International Melbourne Beer Royal Beer Award, and we received 3 medals where we had around 4,000 beers coming from all over the world. So I think that was a good achievement as well. And I think the third achievement would be that we have been profitable from day one. That was a big one.
That's excellent. But in amongst all that, there must have been something didn't quite go so well. So what have been your biggest challenges and how have you overcome them? Or are you still trying to overcome them?
Well, I might get a little bit in trouble here now, don't I? Now, I would say we didn't have too much trouble. I think if challenges, I think one thing to consider is because we had so many shareholders, 10 shareholders, everyone, if you have 10 shareholders, you have 10 opinions, 10 visions of the business. So expectation management is very important, communication and a clear structure. So a lot of shareholders came from small businesses where they were literally the managing director. They could do whatever they want to do. With 10 shareholders, we had a structure that we appointed 4 directors, and those 4 directors would act for the shareholders, obviously, and manage the manager, set the goals, and they wouldn't interfere into the day-to-day operations. So I think that helped us to navigate those challenges. But yeah, I think it's something that comes up all the time because everyone has a different opinion about certain things, and especially when you have so many dominant people in one room in one business, everyone wants to stir the ship in a slightly different direction. I think that was the biggest challenge.
It would be. It sounds like a normal boardroom, actually, and I guess it is important, really good to listen to those different, ideas and think about strategy from time to time. So, how often does the board meet, Julian?
Well, we have a obviously a monthly board meeting, and then we have a quarterly shareholder meeting where the board obviously represents the performance.
So it is a very hands-on board then, and I guess with their expertise, you should be tapping into it too. So well done, you. Um, Thinking about Masson Ranges in particular is a real hotbed for startups. And that's what we're experiencing, seeing coming through our programs. What tips would you have? Because you've obviously had your finger in a few startups and experienced the highs and the lows. VCAT is a red flag on every business. You're not the only one being down that path, unfortunately. But what are your tips for a startup that come to mind, having been through that experience?
I think one very important tip or something I learned is that you need to know your identity as a business, who you are, what you want to be, and you need to know your target market. You can't be everything to everyone. You need to know your strength, and you need to also know that you can't stretch yourself too thin. I think that's something I learned. Another one would be probably to engage with the local target market early on and listen to the feedback, and also not only give your product away for free or to friends and family, but don't be shy to ask for a price because then you know if there's actual business, if people would, actually pay money for your service or for your product. Um, I think those 2 tips I could give for people who would like to start something in Messon Ranges or in Australia in general.
Yes, indeed. We go right across the region, and regional Australia is very important in the startup world and diversification of those towns. So, future plans, you're 2 years, you're up and running, you're attracting the crowds. how do you keep attracting the crowds? Are you thinking ahead or you're just happy that you've got where you are? What are your future plans?
Well, we're obviously happy to be where we're at, but we also understand that we want to offer the community every time something new. So we have four different menus for the food, which we rotate through the season with specials on. We also have every 2 months a new seasonal beer, so that we have some new beverages on there. But we also closely look at the trends on the market. So we know that, for example, with a restaurant, we're limited, but with a brewery, we can do other things. We're not just a brewery, we're a beverage company. So we do, for example, whiskey wash for other people. We do look at trends such as hard lemonade. Hard solo was a huge success. And so now we started making our own hard lemonade, which became one of the top selling items. So I think as a business in general, we always want to be on top of trends, reinvent ourselves, and reinvest into the business. So I think our future will stay in Lancefield and closely with our community aligned, but we will be offering our community always something new.
Excellent. It just sounds wonderful, and I can't wait to get back and actually sit down and try some of these beverages and whatnot. So well done, Julian, on a great success story in the region.
Thank you.
And it's just lovely to be able to interview someone, particularly in this circumstance with a partnership model, a startup greenfield site, or you called it, what did you call it?
No, Greenfield, Greenfield.
Yeah, yeah. And to really see that you tapped into the local community. But the day I called in, I think people were from Kilmore they'd driven across. So you are right. It's a destination and well worth going to visit. So congratulations
Thank you.
on your achievement, and thank you for sharing the story with us. It's really good to hear these stories, and hopefully a few more people will pop in and say hi to you and talk to you about their startup journeys too. So you're a great inspiration to everyone. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.